Everyone, welcome to my channel. So I'm sure you see by the title, but I'm so excited to be showing you the Blight Moon palette by Noiricorn and Ghoul in Japan. The artwork itself is hand drawn by Ghoul in Japan. If you have not checked her out, you really should. She is like so amazing. I love a lot of the things that she creates, and we have a very, not quite like the same makeup style, but a very like similar-ish aesthetic, and I really love that. I love just seeing different like creative people out here in the beauty space just doing something that's so untraditional, I would say, and I feel really inspired by a lot of the things that she does, and I'm so grateful that C Beauty Mall actually did send this beautiful palette to me. Let me go ahead and show you a little bit of the palette itself. We'll jump into some swatches in just a couple of minutes, but I did want to shout out they did send this to me just to show some looks. I am deciding to do a review video as well. I don't believe that they told me I had to do that, but I want to do that as well. And if you are curious to pick up this palette, I do have a code. It is affiliated. It is Rainbow of Makeup to my YouTube channel. All caps, I believe. Massive thank you. If you do choose to use it, it does give you 10% off, and then I do get a little kickback off of that. So massive thank you. No pressure though if you don't feel like this is the right move for you. But I thought it'd be fun just to chat about this palette and to show you some of the looks. So I am mainly planning on doing just 2 looks for this video. I do already have another short with that should have already gone up. I'm going to have several more looks with this palette, so if you are curious to see those, should be in my short form content, so definitely check that out if you are curious. Also, I did not say this palette does retail for $47.99. Last time I checked, it is available now. I'm going to go ahead and swatch out the shades on my hand. What I will generally do is apply either a little bit of foundation, concealer, eyeshadow base, something. Reason being is that 9 times out of 10 when I'm going to be using eyeshadows, I will have something on my eyelid, so I really kind of want to show what it's going to look like to me. I know you can do swatches without that way, but like I'm never gonna put eyeshadow just on my eye without a base. A lot of times I really just feel like it does not apply as well, so I really want to be fair and show these shadows off as they are. The shimmers, I may not use a glitter primer for swatch's sake, but usually on the eyelid I will do that just because it does help with intensity. With all that being said, let me go ahead and swatch this out and then we can get started with my thoughts. So here are my swatches. Sorry, I hope I'm not hitting my microphone. But here are the swatches swatched out. They all did swatch out really, really well. The shimmers in here are seriously so freaking blingy. I do have some thoughts though to talk about with the shimmers, or just some kind of just to let you know, but these are the lovely, lovely swatches. So let's go ahead and just talk through my thoughts of some of the shimmers. Main thing I do want to say about 2 of these shimmers, there are only 4 in this palette. 2 of them are going to be more emollient shades. I personally have not had any issue with them like creasing horribly or anything like that on me, so I did kind of just want to point that out. So the one I feel like is going to be the biggest emollient one in my opinion is Gilded. It really has that texture that you can move around, I would say, relatively easily. It is a very beautiful shade, but I would definitely say think of it kind of as, I would consider it kind of a creamy shimmer kind of vibe. The other shade as well that also has that same vibe, not exactly as emollient, but is going to be Obscura, which is this next one here, has that same emollient vibe, but it's not as much as the other one. A lot of times how I will tell is I'll just kind of dip my finger in, push it around, and the first one really moves around a good amount. This one, I could just feel it slightly. It's not too much. It definitely feels thick. And honestly, a little bit, when I first was playing with it, I thought that it was chunky because it kind of had that vibe and it's very shiny. But upon playing with it, I don't get that at all. And it did swatch really well. It is this shade right here. The other 2 shades in here that are shimmers, this one feels very, I would say, like a firm pan. Also really shiny. All these shimmers in here are super nice, super duper shiny. We have the red in here that I think everybody loves. It's just called Ruby Flame. I really do hope that this shade does come in a single. I do believe I talked about it a little bit later in the video. This one as well has a little bit, but really not much. Like a teeny bit, but really not much. And there's something in there that I love that does feel a bit grippy. And like, hopefully you can just see this. It's just really pretty. I feel like I really don't see a lot of red shimmer shades ever. And I really like this one. I feel like there's something about it that it feels very true red, but almost a little blue red, but not purple. I feel like it's difficult to explain, but there's something about it that it's just so beautiful. Like, it has this richness, this almost, it feels deep, but it's not. Like, it still is red, and I really just love that it's not really pulling to orange, it's not pulling to pink. Like, I feel like it's staying true to color. I do have it on my lid right here. I did put a little bit of gilded kind of overlapping just a teeny bit, but it is so pretty. I have not touched up the shimmers at all. I have worn this look all day. I did find I have to touch up the mattes a teeny bit, but it is extremely hot where I am right now. We're having a massive heat wave, so that kind of made sense, but I do not have touched the shimmers at all, which is actually like pretty freaking incredible. I did use a glitter primer. I've been using the DD Signature one, and that just stayed very, very, very well. I'm really enjoying that glitter primer, but also these shimmers did stay, like I said, really well. No creasing, honestly, at all. Like, really, really, really nice. I think that is all I wanted to say so far. So let me go ahead. We'll delve into our couple of looks. For the first look, I'm going to start off with this deeper red shade called Bloodstone. Taking just an angled brush, I'm just going to drag that along my lower lash line. And I'm going to stop right where that color part of my eye starts, like in the inner corner of the eye. And then wing it out. Dipping with a pencil brush in the same shade. And I'm just going to fill in this color, stopping right where that colored part of our eye starts. And just creating our outer corner shape. Using that same pencil brush, I'm just going to add some of the shade into my crease. And I'm going to take it to that same spot where that colored part of our eye ends, as we did on the bottom lash line. Because the shade has some red in it, and for my next shade, I really want to go in with the green, but that transition is a bit tougher. I'm gonna go ahead and take the shade Grave Light, which I do believe is a gray, but I think it might have some brown in it. If you're new to my channel, I am colorblind. I feel like I've realized that it's almost become a bit of like a superpower in the fact of I will combine colors that people who are able to fully see colors might not combine because they don't think they would work. And I'm just using the slightly longer, fluffy, pencil-y type brush. And all I really want to do is very slightly kind of overlapping the edges. And I really am just going to take my time with this process to just blend the edges out. Taking that same pencil brush we used before, I did just wipe it off, but I'm taking a bit more of that Grave Light shade, just doing the same thing on the bottom lash line to help us transition into the green. For the upper lid, I do feel like I lost a little bit of that red shade, so I'm taking a bit more of that Bloodstone shade. I'm using the same brush we used for Grave Light, just wiped off, so that it will hopefully, well, for one, just because I love this brush, but for two, it should help it to blend in pretty well with Grave Light. But I really don't want to lose that like reddish intensity. It's such a pretty shade. Next, I'm going to take this green, which I believe is called Bilethorn, and I'm going to take an even fluffier kind of pencil-y type brushes. This is just a brush style that I personally like, and I'm just going to take that shade and just start buffing around the crease. Already, I love how it is just able to blend in, and I think using that shade Grave Light was a really good idea. And then I really am, just as my mind wants to say, sketching in this shade just to start the blending process. I will be going back in a bit more with it just to really build it up, but I want to make sure that the blend is working how I want it to be. And then once we're ready to build it up, that's when I'm just going to take tapping motions to really get the most amount of product, and then just do little blending motions to get it to soften in. Is this going to be completely perfect? No, but I think that I'm going to do the best I can. I just really love this color combination. And then I'm just going to take that brush we used earlier on the top for the bottom with our green shade, and just repeating the same steps Mainly for the lower lash line, I am just kind of focusing on getting it blended, but we'll go in a little bit with more of that green just to get it nice and intensified. Just tapping to get a bit more of that intensity. Lastly, because I can't help myself, I'm going to take the shade Lumen, which is like a pretty bright yellow. And I'm just taking a slightly fluffy brush. I believe this is supposed to be modeled after like a MAC 217, if anyone is here from that time period when that was like the big brush. And I'm just going to take that around the grain. You don't need to add this shade in, but I really love to add a yellow to punch up greens and make them even brighter. And lastly, for the mattes, just going in with a big, clean, fluffy brush, just to make sure that everything feels pretty seamless. If this is feeling unfinished to you, just wait for the shimmers. I have to remind myself of that sometimes because I will be like, ooh, I hate it. And then I'm like, okay, just chill out, add your shimmers, and then you'll be good. So I have been loving to take, whoa, hello. I have been loving to take the new DD Signature Lock and Glow Primer. For this look, I'm just going to be focusing the shade on the lid itself. And then I'm going to give it about a minute just to get tacky, and then we'll apply the shimmers. Taking probably the fan favorite popular shade of this palette, which is called Ruby Flame. I'm going to start by picking this up with a brush, and I'm just going to start applying it to the lid. Now, this shade will need to be built up if you are using just a brush. You can, of course, do my favorite method, which is to use a finger, but if you just prefer to use a brush or don't have the ability to use a finger, you can definitely build it up to get the pigmentation that you want, as you see here. Look at that red. There's just something about this shade, and I do hope they sell this as a single. They might. I think I did hear somebody, I don't remember who, talk about it or like show it as a single, so I really do hope that it is a single. Main reason why is because it is actually a really beautiful shade. One of the first reds that I've actually played with that I feel like is a really true red that is just, I don't know, really pretty. It has, I would definitely say red, probably a little bit more, a teeny bit more blue tones to it, but not purple. So like definitely still pulls probably like more what they might see like of a true red. It's really, really pretty. Dipping in next with Gilded. I'm gonna do the same thing and just tap it on. I love how much shimmer this shade has. It's just very sparkly. It's definitely the type of shade that you could put over almost any color and it just transformed to something really cool. And then just tapping between the two shades to get them to blend a bit together. I think something even really cool would be is if you lay down this red shimmer first and then put the shade on top, it would transform it, I feel like, to this more kind of still red, but with some like goldy flecks. Be really pretty. I'll definitely have to keep that in mind for a future look. Here is look one completed. Love it so much. It is so pretty, so sparkly, giving me all the colorful vibes that I need. Let's go ahead and dive into our next look. So for the second look, I really wanted to go with something a bit more green, kind of smoky, and then play with the last two shimmer shades of the palette. So first off, I'm just going to start with the black, which is called Soot. Using just kind of a flat brush, I'm going to start running this along our lower lash line, just stopping at the colored part of our eye, and then I'm just going to wing it out. Grabbing a pencil brush, I'm just going to move to the top of the lid, taking that black to the colored part of our eye. I want to try to keep this as kind of lowish as I can so that the green is really able to stand out. And then from my crease, I'm just going to connect to this outer corner here and just fill in this color. Next, going in with Wraithwood, which to my colorblind eyes looks like a deep green, but it might also be like a deep gray. But I'm just going to utilize it like it is a deep green. I'm going to take this longer pencil brush that we used before, and I'm going to start by sketching this throughout the crease, just stopping where that colored part of our eye is. Because this is such a deep shade and we did use the black, I really want to try to just use this kind of lightly as a whisper so that when we do add in the green, it's not too overpowering. Keeping with the same vibe as we did of the previous look, I am just going to be taking the shade and just buffing it around this deeper shape here. I'm just taking a clean blending brush just around the shape, just to further make it easier for this green to blend in. I will say something I do notice with this palette, which I do love but might make it a bit tricky for certain people, is, at least in my opinion, it doesn't fully have a lot of shades that would transition, I feel, naturally, at least to, again, my colorblind eyes of what I am seeing. I could go in with Grave Light like I did yesterday, but I am pretty sure that that is a kind of gray. So though that is an option, I just want to kind of show you, if you do have this palette, or if you have a palette similar to this that is a bit, I don't fully want to say struggle, but is a bit harder to create a look with, or to get to work with what you're wanting to. These are just some little tricks that, for myself, I personally use just to make it a bit easier to blend, because, I don't know, I just like certain shades like this don't blend so easily. Now, granted, you could, of course, go in with the lighter shades. It's just, for what I personally love as my aesthetic, to go a bit deeper, so that is why I'm going deeper. Next, I'm just going to dip in with Balthorn, taking a fluffy brush, and I'm just going to start building up this shade. Kind of as we did previously, I am just going to sketch it in. And what I mean by sketching it in is kind of just laying down a very light layer to, for one, just to have it there, but to two, help to start to blend out these shades, or blend them in together, I should more say. Doing the same thing on the bottom. Next, I'm just going to take some of that shade and do the same thing I did on our previous look. And I'm just going to start stamping to build up the pigmentation. And I am really happy that I did do that trick and kind of start to buff out some of these deeper shades, because I really do feel like it is going to make it a lot easier to not only blend, but if we want to deepen up, which I think I will a little bit, kind of re-intensify. But we have created that, I would say, structure to make it easier to complete the desired effect. So I've got us to this spot here where we have the green nice and intensified. You can see that the blending, it definitely probably needs a little bit of work, and the colors just aren't as sharp as I would like them to be. So I'm going to go ahead and dip in with the shade Wraithwood, just that same brush. Pick up just a little bit, and I'm just going to tap it off on my brush, or on my mirror, just to release some of that extra pigment. And I'm just going to start stamping throughout the crease. What this does is it releases excess pigment, so you're kind of getting a bit more of a sheer wash of the color. But because we already had that structure kind of built in, it makes it a lot easier to build up and layer up. And in our case, just to re-intensify the look and help it to blend in a lot better with the green. All right, I feel like we're looking good. The eye is pretty intense. I am just going to go ahead and go in with the DD Signature Lock and Glow Primer, pressing this into my mobile part of my lid. And then I'm just going to give this about a minute to set down. Now that that base has set, I'm going to go ahead and take our first shimmer shade, which is Obscura. I'm just going to use a finger for this shade. You can use a brush, but I just don't feel like it picks up the best. I'm just tapping this in. I love it's a very dimensional shade, I would say. It, to me, does look pretty true color. I was hoping it was going to pull a bit more green. I know that it is a probably duochrome, trichrome, like multichrome. But if you're not new to my channel, a lot of times with multichromes, at least in my opinion, I want to be able to like see it. Like, that's, as the makeup lover myself, like, I love it if other people can see it too, but I as well want to be able to participate and see in the color shifts. And I can just pretty much see this one color, or like multicolor, but this one finish, and I absolutely really honestly do love it. I really cannot wait to create another look using this shade with Ruby Flames. I feel like it'd be really cool to maybe really try to take this palette in like a really smoky direction. That is going to be really fun. I mean, I know that my makeup is already pretty smoky, but generally what I consider more of a smoky eye, at least for me, is like really darkness in the inner corner of the eye. Like, I really want to try that out. I just don't do it enough, but I think that'll be really fun and really freaking pretty with this shade. So definitely stay tuned for that, or these two shades. I'll probably be doing that in a short coming up soon, because I do think that'll be absolutely really freaking cool. So for our last shade, which is called Chimeweed, I am actually going to be taking a flat brush for that, and I am pretty sure this shade does pull a bit more green, and applying that into the inner part of the eye. This shade does pick up really well with a brush and complements this shade, this other shimmer shade, so well. That is one thing I definitely feel a lot with these shimmer shades, is I am so happy that they work tremendously well. Like, this is only a 10-pan palette, so there's not really like a ton that you can put into said palette. And I think that what they were able to create, just taking another kind of clean brush just to buff out my shimmers, that is something I do like to do, because I don't just like a stark line with my shimmers. I do like it to kind of buff in to my mattes a bit. But I appreciate that what they had picked out for these shimmer shades work pretty much with every single shade in this palette. So lastly, I am just going to go ahead and take a little bit more of, I think I'm going to take Soot. I don't know if you can see here, but where that shimmer shade it kind of ends, it looks a little odd to me. So I like to re-add in a bit of a deeper matte shade, just stopping, again, very simply to where that colored part of my eye is, and just kind of stamping over with any of the leftover product over that shimmer to help it to blend in. And this, again, this is just what I prefer. I do feel like it looks a bit more finished. This is the finished result of our second look. I did decide just to take that same brush with a little bit more of that black Soot shade, just a teeny bit here throughout the crease, just to continue that deepness that I really love. But I am in love with this look so much. It is so pretty, so fun, and just everything that I wanted. I really am enjoying playing with this palette. So to transition into some final thoughts about this palette, one thing that I did want to start off, because I kind of just remembered it and I did not mention it really, is one thing I really appreciate when brands or creators of the palettes do is utilize the colors that they have on the front of the palette inside of their palette. Whoa. And I would say that they definitely did that for this palette. I still am so in love with the fact that Ghoul in Japan drew this. Like, I think that is so freaking incredible. And I really do wish that in the future that more brands would do that and work with more creators who are able to draw. Like, even if it's just, it doesn't have to be like as intricate as this, but I think it's just like creative and super cool. Like, obviously hire artists, don't get me wrong, like definitely hire your artists, but I think it's just really cool. Even if it's just a little squiggle or something, I think it just adds like such a unique touch to a palette that really, I feel like it just, I'm trying to find like the right words, but it's a little something extra special from the person who created said palette. I find it super freaking cool. As for the color story of this palette, I think it is very unique. I'm going to say, in my opinion, as I have been thinking about this, I do think it might be a teeny bit advanced. And why I say that is when I personally think of when I was first starting makeup, so this is only just going to be my opinion, is I was very like, kind of think very Blend Bunny, if you're familiar with how they do a lot of their layouts, like their blends and stuff like that, that they really just kind of naturally have the flow of shades that you can use. And it just makes it easier. I love that this kind of challenged me to pick for some colors that I was like, what would I put together? Because it doesn't, how I feel pull for a super natural look. Like, granted, there are looks that you could do, and when I see supernatural, it doesn't even necessarily make sense. But what I more mean is you might gravitate towards, like, I would say probably, yeah, the black and gray, like, is going to be something that easily is identifiable. But some of the other shades in here, because it has some different shades, it really just challenges your creativity, and I really honestly do like that. All in all, though, I am so happy that I do have this palette. I'm grateful, so grateful that I was sent this to me. Massive thank you again to C Beauty Mall for sending this to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But it really has, honestly, for myself, made me want to go back on C Beauty Mall and try to find some really cool and unique color stories. The shimmers are so impactful, so much fun, and also with my first experience with the brand Noiricorn, really makes me want to try more from them and just create some more fun looks. So as a creative, I would just mainly say that it has ignited this excitement in me, and I'm super stoked just to continue seeing what they have to offer. But that is going to be it for me today. Please let me know down below what you do think of this video, what you did think of my looks. Are you going to pick this palette up? Have you already picked this palette up? Or are you just going to use this as some inspiration to create some fun looks? I would love to know whatever you are thinking. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you on my next one. Okay, bye.